Dear participants in the World Food Convention 2021, the theme of this convention is Science for Society, how to secure food in a sustainable way. The theme is timely and excellent, because without renewed and accelerated actions for science and innovation, the world food system remains on the track of failing people and planet. When referring to a science, I mean all sciences and all research, natural sciences, social sciences, including economics, law, and humanities, citizen science, and the great experiential knowledge of indigenous peoples. The fundamental human rights, including the right to food, are violated. Many food systems are not sustainable. Therefore, science needs not only address production and consumption, not only address value chains, but sciences must address the whole food system. The United Nations Food System Summit in September 2021, to which the UN Secretary General has invited, offers a historic opportunity to address these problems. The transformational roles of science must be recognized among the emerging actions proposed for the UN Food System Summit. A better food system is more efficient and sustainable. It protects its most vulnerable members. Investments in science and technology-based innovations must be accompanied by institutional and policy innovations and societal dialogues, enabling full inclusion of poor and marginalized populations, including women and men and families of smallholder communities. A large dialogue process is currently ongoing for the Food System Summit, and you all should feel encouraged to participate, to make the UN Summit also a People's Summit. Scientists and innovators from diverse disciplines must engage in this effort. Bioscience innovations, for instance, hold great promise to meet a number of food systems challenges for accelerated and sustainable production. The world may have sufficient calories, but the world does not have sufficient foods for healthy diets for all. Outdated regulations stand in the way of applications of biotechnologies and new bioscience insights. They need revisiting. Advances in digital innovations and engineering can make food systems more sustainable too, reduce food waste and losses, and improve hygiene. Food waste needs to be addressed by people's behavior. Moreover, open information sharing is needed to ensure that users are aware of the opportunities, costs, and benefits of new technologies based on available scientific evidence. Social sciences and policy research, including innovative modeling of food systems, economics, and legal studies, provide another critical input. Research into political and governance systems at global, national, and decentralized levels, including fiscal and finance systems and rights-based approaches, can shape the design of framework conditions that are conducive to food systems transformation towards sustainability in the different contexts. Climate change, ladies and gentlemen, is a defining issue of our time. Agriculture, including forestry and related land and soil use, are part of the problem, but also must be part of the solution. They are the single largest driver of multiple environmental pressures and large contributors to greenhouse gas emissions and air pollution. Boosting sustainable production calls for complex measures. Moving quickly towards climate positive and climate resilient food systems means employing significant carbon pricing and technologies and having a sustainable circular bioeconomy as a concrete vision for the transformed food system. Water is becoming an increasingly scarce and polluted resource. Most fertile land is already cultivated and 1/3 of global land area is degraded. Soil degradation must stop now. This must be a goal for the summit. Locally adapted, sustainable intensification of existing agricultural systems is needed, as are science-based innovations to keep and regenerate productive and healthy soils. Innovations in agroforestry can contribute to large-scale productive land use combined with ecological and climate-positive ecosystem services. The so-called Great Green Wall in the Sahel, a wall of forestry, bush, and agroforestry systems, is a success in terms of ecology and benefit cost ratios. Investment in it needs scaling up, and will serve also peace in this troubled region. Job creation needs also be accelerated in dryland areas through education and skill training. Science-based innovations for sustainable blue foods that protect and harness oceans and coastal areas can play a growing role in ending malnutrition and in building healthy, nature-positive and resilient food systems. The Food Systems Summit must not only focus on terrestrial systems, it must embrace all aquatic systems because of the linkages. The Food Systems Summit should also identify diplomatic international actions that quickly reduce the problem of hunger due to armed conflicts. This is also an area of policy attention. Food systems transformation offers huge benefits for people and planet, and the costs are comparatively low. Actually, the cost of ending hunger have estimated by us to range between 39 and 50 billion per annum until 2030. The United Nations Food Systems Summit must address financing this. Institutional innovation should include mobilization of innovative financing, for instance, end hunger bonds, a bond system to end hunger, backed by new special drawing rights from the International Monetary Fund. Also a dedicated fund for hunger reduction, more official development aid, and private sector commitments are needed. The private sector must come to the table from the food industry. Such financing should be considered in the larger context of climate change financing and rebuilding from COVID-19 and related financing. The food system is part of these big global issues. Continued and expanded investment in capacities for science and innovation are needed in order for countries to find their own ways towards a sustainable food system. Emerging economy countries need to spend at least the equivalent of 1% of agricultural GDP per annum on public food and agriculture research and should be assisted in that. To tap the full potentials of research and development, public food systems science and related research partnerships with private sector and civil society innovators need to expand. The complex issue of intellectual property rights should be addressed. When intellectual property rights hinder innovations that can serve food and nutrition security and food safety of poor people, open access systems should be explored and supported. IP must not stand in the way of overcoming hunger. Food system science and policy need a stronger framework to shape constructive and evidence-based interaction for follow-up to the summit and for the long term. New institutional arrangements should be considered for the food system, bringing policy, science in a constructive and productive framework. A few committees and councils are not sufficient. A strong international independent voice for science-informed and evidence-based food systems policy is needed that also connects international with national science. Academies of science and universities have to play a key role in that context. In closing, ladies and gentlemen, equitable access to healthy diets must be a central focus of food systems innovations and transformations. Currently, more than 3 billion people cannot afford healthy diets, and more than 1.5 billion cannot afford a diet that meets the required levels even of essential nutrients. Policy innovations are needed to incentivize availability and affordability of nutritious foods. The widespread prevalence of unhealthy diets results in large indirect costs of the malfunctioning food systems. Our team of scientists advising the UN Food Systems Summit have quantified the indirect environmental and health costs of the food system. These costs amount to about 3 times the food costs paid in the markets. They include the climate and land degradation and deforestation costs, and the costs of hunger, and the cost of obesity and of unsafe foods. But the cost of human suffering cannot be quantified, and the shame accepting it, neither. We need a new ethical approach to value good food and to value the people who do not have it. Thank you for your attention.